Good evening. I am coming on 10 minutes early. This is to give people time to come on. So if you're watching the rerun of this video, you can probably skip exactly 10 minutes, maybe 9 minutes into the video. But again, I'm just on 10 minutes early to give people time to come on board here. Give them time to get those notifications up on their Facebook page. And so again, if you are watching the rerun of this, I won't get into real detail until 1800 hours, which is just under 10 minutes from now. So you can probably go exactly 9 minutes into this video, and we'll start to get going. Again, this is live right now at 5:51 p.m. Eastern Time, U.S., broadcasting live from Salem, Massachusetts. The topic of the video is the afterlife, and it was a great topic. A lot of you responded overwhelmingly with after. I was surprised. I got to tell you, as we're waiting for more people to come on, you're restoring my faith in humanity. Because I'm just so used to these, like people calling and wanting to know about who's going to leave who for them, and they want to sleep with somebody, and nobody's searching for truth. But to see my Facebook page light up with people wanting to know about the afterlife, that's a real worthy, and the questions that I'm going to answer, I have this question screenshotted here. And again, we're going to start at exactly 6 p.m. I'm just on here early for those of you that are joining me early. Hi, Marie. For those of you that are joining me early, we're going to start at 6 p.m. Hi, Lorena. Hello, Lorena. We're going to start at 6 p.m. I'm just on early so everybody gets their notifications. We can get a bigger crowd. Hi, Alicia. And if I don't get to say hi, Shireen. If I don't get to say hello, if I don't see your comments, when I do these videos, the last video had 248 comments, and they just roll up like credits on a movie screen. So I don't often see a lot of what you type until after the fact. Sometimes during the video, if I have time, I'll scroll down, but then when I scroll up, I've missed about 15 comments because there were new ones. So if I don't get to you specifically, I try to after the video. Some of you will recall that I've commented after the video. I've looked through and like, oh, I didn't see this, and it was a good comment, or, etc. Hi, Melissa. Welcome. We're just waiting another 5, 6, 7 minutes to start. I'm doing this so everybody can get their Facebook notifications to sign on and see. We're gonna begin our discussion. We're gonna begin our roundtable discussion at 6 o'clock Eastern. It is now 5:53 p.m. Eastern Time. Hello, Sherry. Hello, Danetta. And I have your questions. I screenshotted a lot of questions, a lot of good questions. And there was a list of topics that I actually looked. If you look on my wall, my Facebook wall, you'll see a list of the topics that I was... yes, you did make it. Finally, that's great, Danetta. It's nice to do a live with you actually joining in instead of getting the rerun, right? Again, we're just waiting until 6 p.m. Eastern. You'll probably hear me say that several times now between now and 6 p.m. for those who sign on and be like, what's this kid talking about? He's not talking about anything. It's because I'm waiting for 6 p.m., okay? A lot of good questions. So I could probably review some of the questions that I'm gonna go over here. Let's just see here. Excuse me. I had to screenshot it and put it in a second phone. And just bring this over here. Gallery. Okay. These are some of the questions that I got, and I'm going to repeat these questions, obviously, starting at 6 p.m. when spirits. How close are the people in the afterlife to us in this physical realm? Very good question. Are our deceased loved ones living alongside us, although we cannot see them? Good question. Amazing questions. Is it true all the animals I ever loved will be waiting for me when it's my time? Very popular question, believe it or not. I honestly like animals better than people, no kidding. And my dogs are and were like my children. All dogs go to heaven. What can we do as mortals to call spirits, to call their spirits so we can feel, see them, example, hear something, see signs, etc.? Amazing. And intense questions too. Look at this one. Do you see your babies you have lost? And that's actually, that there's a lead into abortion on that one. It's going to be an intense video. And I'm going to answer all this stuff with the years, the 31 years I've been doing readings. This is a good one. Heaven, hell. Is heaven physically located above us? Is hell physically located below us? That's actually a very good question, because there are theories to back up both. Babies, pre-birth communication. Babies appearing in dreams prior to conception. Miscarriage, abortion, stillbirth. Accidental death. Can a baby decide to return to this physical realm? I'm going to get to these. I'm going to answer all of these as best I can. Hi, Melody. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Let's see. Can you explain what the afterlife feels like? How does one get stuck in limbo? Is there a waiting period before reincarnation for spirit? What if they want to be an angel and not return as a human or animal? Can all deceased souls communicate with us? Do you believe we are reincarnated a certain amount of times, or is there a limit? Can we decide what or who we become, or is the decision made for us? It's actually said read more, and I didn't screenshot it because I didn't see that it said read more. Absolutely, please share. It's in it's in the description. We have 8, 9, say 3 minutes to 6 o'clock. Just waiting for people to come on. Hi, Kathy. I'm seeing some of the good old familiars here. What happens to our soul when we die? Do we ever wander the earth after death? What happens when a pet dies? I'm telling you, it's a common question about pets. Really good one here. They're all good. They're all good. They're all no less than profound. Do you choose to remain with the living one after death? Is there any way to help those who have committed suicide to achieve a different realm of peace? Very interesting. Really great. Did I have any more? Some people added more questions, and I didn't screenshot them. That's a good... Sherry, I don't ever want to come back. I feel you, honey. Seriously, I'm done. Is it possible to not? Yeah, I believe it is, yes. Well, and again, what I'm going to be answering these questions on is from experience, from what I've heard from the other side, from theological perspectives, beliefs of different faiths. But the bulk of this... Hi, Gemma. What is it's a great name? Gemma Louise Whitehouse. The bulk of this is going to be my experiences, what I have seen. As we approach 6 o'clock here, I just want to put you that if you get something out of this, if this means something to you, if you want to see more of these videos, please donate. I put my PayPal.me thing in the description, link in the description. You can do it by PayPal or via Cash App. You don't have to. I'm not going to be looking at your names and saying, didn't get any money from that bitch. No, it's not going to be like that. Don't worry. It's just if you get something out of it, if you think, even if it's like whatever, 5, It is, Sherry. I love your enthusiasm, Sherry. Okay. It is 6 o'clock. Welcome. My name is Eric Fraize. Why am I introducing myself when you all know me? because I'm asking you to share this video tonight to many people who will benefit from these questions of the afterlife, and questions that people have asked since forever, thousands of years, questions that go back to ancient Egypt, beliefs and stuff. What did the ancient mystics believe? What does Christianity teach us? What does Hinduism teach us? What have I seen with my own eyes, in my own third eye, I should say? Okay. So without further ado, because there's a lot here. Now remember, what I'm sharing with you, I guess this is my disclaimer. These are my experiences of actually reading people, and this is my knowledge of what I've studied. Okay? I say nothing tonight with authority. I do not claim to know exactly what happens when we die, because I haven't died. At least not that I can recall, if we get into reincarnation. So I can only share with you what's been communicated to me, what I've seen and experienced. I'll have very personal experiences to share with you, and some things are going to be controversial. I will try to handle every sensitive topic with kid gloves, but I'm also going to share with you what I have seen, period, the end. If for any reason this video is interrupted, I don't know, connection, whatever, it should be fine, but whatever. If for any reason this video is interrupted, I will immediately sign back on as soon as possible and continue with the part 2. Tonight, now, right after, okay? That having been said, let us begin. Question 1. I can say your name, right? Because you put it on my Facebook. We'll just say the first names. Melissa. Is it true all the animals I ever loved will be waiting for me when it's my time? I honestly like animals better than people. Preach, honey. My dogs are and were like my children. I did a reading not too long ago. Yes. Okay, first of all, yes. From my experience, yes. I have spoken with animals before. We didn't chat, but I'm just saying I've seen them, I've described them, I've felt their emotion, I can see them around. And one reading I did most recently, this woman was a very big animal lover, had horses, dogs, cat. I mean, she had, and as I read her, this tunnel opens up and this light opens up and out comes this zoo, basically. And St. Francis of Assisi comes out. But that makes perfect sense. His feast day, October 4th, coming up. St. Francis of Assisi is this patron saint of pets in animals. So the answer is yes. I remember I had a ferret. This was in the I've had ferrets, a lot of ferrets throughout time. And when I was 17, a guy I was dating had a ferret. And I picked the ferret up and I was holding it in my hands. I'm like, oh, he's a cancer the crab. And the guy was like, what? I'm like, he's a cancer, because I've been doing this since I was 15. So I was 17. I'm like, he's a cancer the crab. I just got a quick, as soon as I grabbed the animal and was holding it, I got a quick image of a crab. And I said, he's a cancer the crab. He's like, whatever. And within minutes, he happens to be going through papers and he finds the animal's birth certificate, and the animal was a Cancerian. And astrology affects animals just as it does humans. Okay? Never ignore a Leo dog. Okay? Don't move a Virgo cat's dish. From the space that it's accustomed to. Hi, Jean. Jean, we're going to get you a question tonight, by the way. Hi, Nikita. No, you didn't miss much at all. I've been on 10 minutes because I was getting people to come on. I was trying to I came on 10 minutes early to let people see the notifications on Facebook to come on and join us. So yes, is it true all animals I ever loved will be waiting when it's my time? Yes. Now the Catholic theology on this, so I'm telling you, so this is how it's going to work tonight. I just gave you an example of my experience. I've read animals before. I've felt animals. I've seen, like, you have a cat. Like, there's a spirit impression of an animal around somebody. So, yes, nothing alive dies. That includes you. You transition. Nothing alive dies. Okay? Think of your soul. Think of life. Think of the universe is not so poorly designed that things die. They appear to die. But they transition, they transmute into a different form that you just cannot see. Okay? And that's not, it's not, it's not some comforting bullshit that I'm giving you so, oh, we'll see them again someday. It's true. Nobody dies. You just don't die. Think about this. Your consciousness, your existence is magnificent. Think about how beautiful and special you are. Do you think God, whatever God you believe in, would let that just stop existing? No. It's going to move on. It's going to go somewhere. Okay? The question we're asking today. So this isn't a question of, is there life after death? There is. Period. The end. That's one thing. All right. I remember I said I'm not going to say anything with authority tonight. The one thing I will say with authority, and I bet my life on it right now, there is life after death. So I get news for you atheists. For those that think this is a one-time, a one-shot deal, it's not. Okay. There's so much evidence to the contrary that there's life after death, that to take the position that there is no life after death is utterly moronic. Okay. So Melissa, I hope that answers your questions about animals. I hope anybody else out there that have animals that have passed on, I hope that. And now, I'm not a pet psychic. It's not my field. It's not my specialty. But on occasion, I have. Again, I'm not speaking to him. It's not like Mr. Ed, but it's just I can, the consciousness that you can, empathic. It's empathic communication, feelings, senses. I can see the animal, and it's no coincidence that God reversed is dog. Okay, just short of beating a dog, kicking it, maltreating it, continuously forever. Think about a dog. You don't do this. You're sick if you do that. But you can treat a dog like absolute shit. And he'll always come back to you, wagging his tail, licking your face, and loving you. So it's no coincidence that dog reversed is God and God reversed is dog. What better example of unconditional love? Okay. So let's go on to our next question. How close, this one comes from, now a lot of people ask multiple questions. The reason I'm answering these multiple questions is because they're good questions. So it's not like I'm giving just one question a person, because these are questions that everybody can benefit from. Okay. And I'll tell you what right now I'm taking pre-show questions. I'll take your questions in here. I'll tell you when I'm saying, okay, I'm done with these. What else can we just, what else? What have I missed? Who have I missed? All right. Dawn, spirits, how close are the people in the afterlife to us in this physical realm? This one kind of goes with it from Dawn. Are our deceased loved ones living alongside us, although we cannot see them? Circumstantial. And you're going to hate me tonight because that's going to be a word I'm going to use very often. Circumstantial. Depends on the soul. I have read souls that are hanging on to people. I've read people that the souls are latched onto them and literally walk beside them. I remember the video I did about the woman who wanted to talk to some guy, and her deceased alcoholic mom came in and sat on the bed and looked terrible, and so this is a soul that just latched itself onto her daughter. She's like, I don't want to talk to her. She's, they had a terrible relationship, etc. Some of them stay around for protection. Okay, some of them do stay around, especially lovers, spouses will stay around. And the best, but also, in the case of my mother, when my mother passed away, within 48 hours, she came to me in a dream, and she looked as bad as she did in the hospital. And she told me several, and she was in this, how would I go, Hall of Souls. And I remember the spirit speaks to you in symbols. So she appeared to me in my sister's house. Now think of this symbolically. She looked as bad as she did when she passed. It was only 48 hours after she passed. She came to me in a dream. She appeared in my sister's then house at the time. There were a bunch of people up. Now think of this. It was a split-level house. Think of the symbolism here. I walked in. It was a split-level house. Downstairs was, the lights were out. It was in darkness. There was nobody downstairs. Upstairs, in the living room, in the kitchen, etc., there was a crowd of people chatting. They were all sitting around. It was like, I literally remember beer, smoking. I remember these people, they were chatting. It was like a party. It was like, well, it wasn't a party. There was a morbid feeling. It was, and it felt like one big waiting room. It felt like everybody was waiting for something. Okay? So my mother came down and answered the door. Notice that. I went up to the door of the house. My mother answered. She came down to see me. I couldn't go up to her realm because I was alive. Okay, so I couldn't go up those stairs. So she came down to me at the door, and she explained some very valid things to me. In future dreams, she got better in appearance. Until one day, one dream, she appeared to me. She came in, and she started washing my dishes in the sink. She came into my apartment. This is the dream. She walked into my apartment. She was in the red dress that we buried her in. And she went over to the sink and started washing dishes, and she talked to me about my grandmother and my sister and told me to get in touch with them and stay in touch with them and contact them, etc. Because usually when the matriarch of the family dies, they're the linchpin and families fall apart. So I thought it was symbolic. Now think of this. So she looks better. She's in that red dress that we buried her in, but she's washing dishes. She's still doing her dirty dishes. Maybe even doing mine. Taking some hits for me. You see, so the symbolism there. She's cleaning, doing dirty dishes. It lends credence to a purgatory. All right. So was she in some kind of purgatory? Was she being purged? Because she looked better than the first time. Okay. And then the second time, she was doing the dishes, and then the third time, it was as though she truly moved on, because I had a dream about her because I was going through a difficult time. Now, this is something you want to be careful too. I know we miss our loved ones, but we can also drain them by calling them back to us. The best thing to do is to remember them and let them go. Because, unless they're obviously around us with different signs and stuff that we'll discuss. So I was having a bad time, and I had a dream about my mother that I was kind of crying out to my mom. And she came to me, and she's like, what do you want? What do you need? I'm like, I'm sorry? And she's like, you're calling out to me. You're drawing me back to you. I don't have much time to spend here, to be in this realm, to talk to you. What you need? It was quite an eye-opener. It's like, all right, well, it's cool. I mean, if you're busy, go on. So what's that? Was she in heaven? Was she doing work? What was she doing? I mean, she looked fine. She seemed fine. She was all business. So it was bizarre. That's quite amazing. Celestial bodies remind me about that too. So are our loved ones, are they alongside us? So, yes. Circumstantial. Yes. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes they're interceding for us. Sometimes they're petitioning on our behalf. From what I've learned, from what I've experienced. Okay. more from Dawn. Heaven and hell. Is heaven physically located above us? Is hell physically located below us? Don't balk at that question, because there is credence to believe that after the fall of the angels, and people date this fall pre-Genesis 1, people date this fall at Genesis 6, if you look in the Bible, Genesis 6, it's all, this is all religious theory, etc. I'm talking about, this is nothing that I've seen. Okay, so, Lucifer, one big angel of light, which is actually the Roman god of light. But anyway, it's a big story. The best book you can get on Satan for a look at, objective look, truly, because it does relate to this stuff here about heaven and hell, what's where, it's called Satan, a Biography by Henry Ansgar Kelly. Phenomenal book. Okay, so physically located, some people say yes, they were physically confined to the Tigris-Euphrates Valley. If you look in the book of Genesis, you'll see that it's describing Iraq. It's describing Mesopotamia, the Middle East, where the Garden of Eden originally was. Where are all the wars fought today? Middle East. The fight for paradise. Okay? So you've seen sinkholes open to the big Siberian sinkhole. There are talks of the angel Abaddon opening the key, having the keys to the abyss, letting the demons out from the earth. Some say they were confined to the air, principalities and powers of air. Paul talks about, in the atmosphere. There are a lot of so. And then when I read people, and I go to a place of quote-unquote fire and darkness, I think, again, it's symbolism of how they're communicating to me what they're going through in spirit. Am I in hell? Well, I'm certainly seeing what they're experiencing in a way that I can relate to it, that looks like, oh, wow, remember the story I told you about the lava pit? The suicide that came out of the lava pit, and I was in the cave. It was like in Middle Earth or something, like in the middle of the earth, in the core. So symbolic and literal are is heaven and hell, their physical locations. And Jesus spoke of heaven in different ways, as did evangelical Christians hold heaven in different ways. There are the heavens, the God created, at the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. There are three, some people say three heavens. There's the sky. There's just heaven, the sky. And that's why in Spanish it's cielo, sky. And then there's outer space, the stars, heavens. And then there's God's throne, heaven. So there are different heavens. People say the seventh heaven, etc. You get into levels. That gets into angelology. Dominions, thrones, powers, cherubim, seraphim, angels, archangels, etc. And it gets into the tree of life. It gets into you go into the other side of the tree of life. You get into demonology and etc. So there are dimensions. There could very well be physical places for heaven and hell. Yes. And just remember what Belinda Carlisle says. Ooh, heaven is a place on earth. Not really. All right. Babies. Pre-birth communication. Babies appearing in dreams prior to conception. Miscarriage, there's a lot here. Miscarriage, abortion, stillbirth, accidental death. Can a baby decide to return to this physical realm? Okay, this is a lot. Pre-birth communication. And again, I'm not looking at comments right now, but thank you. So I'll let you know when I am. I mean, you can feel free to keep commenting. I just don't see them all. Pre-birth communication. Yes, very possible. The soul knows, the soul that's going to incarnate into this body knows it's going to incarnate into this body. It's chosen to incarnate into that specific body. So, is it possible to communicate with the baby, to see your baby in a dream? To see your baby in a dream before you have a child? Yes. From my experience, yes. Of speaking with moms, etc. Babies appearing in right conception. Um, miscarriage, abortion, stillbirth, accidental death. Let me. We are a trinity. The trinity in us physically is represented as mind, the heart for the soul, mind, third eye of God, the generative organs, the body, the flesh, mind, spirit, soul, flesh, mind, soul, spirit, soul, whatever. Do you see what I'm saying? Spirit, soul, flesh, kind of. Okay, mind, soul, flesh. So we are a trinity. And people, people can't think outside the box, and this is why there's this big question: is when does life begin? That's the ultimate question people want to know, really. When you get down to the nuts and bolts, and you get down to brass tacks, people want to know, when does life begin? Does life begin at conception, or does it, as astrologers believe, begin at the first breath? Because that's the time that your astrological chart is calculated, because that's the time that the magnetic vibratory influences of the planets above imprint themselves on the very real magnetic vibrations and electrons and neurons in your brain. That's why you have an astrological chart. The trinity of the human body, the human person, is assembled at different times. Okay? So sperm meets the egg. All right? Conception. The physical temple has begun at that moment. The soul has not yet entered. Okay? As that physical temple develops, the mind develops. And so then when the first breath is taken, the soul enters. Okay? So this is, again, from my experience. From all the readings I've done, I can put 31 years of experience together and come to this conclusion. Scripture says that John the Baptist leapt in Elizabeth's womb. Okay, at hearing the voice of, they'll sense it. Animals too, sure. But the body, the flesh, you can sense things. There's a consciousness to the mind, the soul, the mind. They're actually different, believe it or not. They're one but different. It's the law of paradox. So the physical temple begins at conception, part of the Trinity. So the Trinity forms in stages. We are a trinity because we are the microcosm of God, the macrocosm. And the macrocosm is Father, Mother, Logos, the word child. Father, Mother, child. Now you can call this Holy Spirit, Mary, and Jesus. Okay, you can call it Osiris, Isis, and Horus. You can call it Odin, Freya, and Thor. Okay, but there's always the Mother Goddess, the Father God, and the Logos, the child, the Word. And in the beginning was the Word, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Okay, but for astrology's sake, we judge it by the time the breath enters, and God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Think of Genesis. Think of the creation story about Adam and Eve. Think of Adam, what he did. He formed him out of clay. He formed a trinity. Formed him out of clay and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Okay, so as far as the moral implications of abortion, that's between you and your God. I've told you what happens. Every abortion is circumstantial to the person, to the individual. I have spoken to children, souls of children that were supposed to incarnate. Let's put it that way. And sometimes they come to me in gold light, spheres of gold light. And usually when they come to me in spheres of gold light like that, the person I'm reading is very remorseful of what happened, very remorseful of what they've done. The people that use, and I say this matter-of-factly, I'm not arguing any political points. I have no fucking agenda here, okay? People that use abortion as birth control. Again, this is just stuff that I've seen. Now, I'm not making a religious statement. I'm not whatever. I don't have a vagina, okay? unfortunately, because straight men are so fucking hot. Okay, so I don't, you know, I don't, you know, okay, so, but people that use abortion as birth control, those souls don't look so good. The souls, they're souls, just like my soul, your soul. It doesn't, it's not like, oh, it's just a little baby soul. No, it's a soul. Okay, it's a soul. They come to me the same. And they don't come to me from a positive way. You know, but if there's a degree of remorse, you know, on behalf of for what was done. And remember, too, something about conception. And this is universal law. This has nothing to do, this is universal law. And anybody that claims to be some kind of psychic, mystic, whatever, if they don't know this, don't ever go see them, run from them. Okay? I'm not making a religious statement at all here. It's coming from a gay man. Life has to be formed by masculine and feminine energy. That's the Hermetic laws. It's laws of the universe. It has to. You can see that in atoms. There's male and female energy. You know, there's masculine and feminine. The feminine is receptive. The male is projective. You know, and so there has to be. And in addition to that, there has to be love. Because if you just screw somebody and you get them pregnant, what was the energy that formed that? And it doesn't mean the child's going to have a damned life. It just, but like your astrology, the energy of how that child was created, that flesh temple, is very important. And it needs masculine and feminine energy. Okay? You'll see same-sex couples getting, IVF, and whatever it is. Okay, but it's probably better to adopt. And I know they want their own child. But you need that masculine and feminine energy together. Okay? And it needs to be created out of love. And again, it's just it would be like being born with a difficult aspect to your zodiac sign. You know, what's the energy? Like, look at a child born of rape. You know, the energy that was imprinted on that flesh temple at the time of conception. Do you see what I mean? So, it's so complex. It's so circumstantial. Abortion is circumstantial to the women that have had it. Stillbirths, there was no soul to enter. For whatever reason, the soul could have changed its mind. For the benefit of the person. The soul can say, no. We have free will. So if a woman is pregnant, or they're, and a soul's ready to, slated to come in at a certain time, I'm the soul that's going to occupy this body, this baby's body, this life. And something happens traumatic in your life, and it's going to damage it's going to either hurt you in the long run, because remember, they can see time, they can see through time, the future. God can see, your God, goddess, whatever. If it's in your best interest, or in the soul's best interest. People think stillborns are like, oh my God, I had a stillborn. A lot of times it's for the greater good. I know that sounds harsh, but a lot of times it's because something changed. Do you know what I mean? And the child, the soul, for whatever reason, in discussion with spirit, in discussion with God, in discussion with angels, in the hierarchy of heaven, etc., the soul said at this time it is not appropriate to be born for the sake of the mother, for the sake of the soul's life, the child's life. The soul chooses not to enter. And so you give birth to a flesh temple. The mind didn't even completely form. Okay? Only the physical. Remember, this man is a trinity. How much of that trinity formed? Okay? All right. I'm trying to think. I think that should answer. Let's see. Stillborn. Miscarriage can be the same. It can be medical. Shit happens. We're physical, human, medical. Do you know what I'm saying? So the Trinity cannot have the chance to form because of medical complications. Or similar to stillbirth, the child can change its mind. No, the soul can change its mind. No, now's not the time. You know, or the soul, the child can actually, the soul can actually know something the mother doesn't. No, honey, I'm not going to have that for a father. No, I'm totally serious. But souls choose. They know the circumstances they're going to come into. Again, from experience, from what I've seen. I'm trying not to say this with a lot of this with authority. So you don't, when you miscarry, just the soul could be just waiting for a better time. You know, or similar to still, you know, there could be, you know, just it's about that crucial third part of the Trinity, the soul. Okay, and this is why when you don't know, this is why I personally think if somebody's contemplating getting an abortion, they should probably see a prophet such as myself, or it sounds crass because I'm a man, again, it's up to the woman, or such as a legitimate prophet, such as some that I know too, that will look and say, I can see that it's ultimately your decision, but to get advice, not only you have your doctor, but I'd also get spiritual advice too. What's supposed to happen? Is there a soul waiting to come here? Is the father going to bail? Do you see what I mean? So, for all these reasons, because we don't know, choice, pro-choice, people that are pro-choice, is necessary. I can't believe I'm saying that because it's not the stand I take, but looking at this, women have to have that. There has to be a degree of choice involved too. You know, if you're enlightened and you're aware, etc. And it's not about, don't tell me what to do with my body. That's such a talking point. That's such a limited thinking. We're not talking about what you're going to do with your body. We're talking about the other body that's forming inside you. We're talking about the soul. We're talking about the other Trinity that is inside you. Okay? And women have the burden because they're the ones that give life. They're the closest to God. The goddess, the giver of life. God's essence is feminine. God's will is masculine. Okay? That's been learned over time. That's come out in exorcisms. In the Catholic Church, documented exorcisms that I studied, God's will is masculine. God's essence is feminine. Okay, so I think that covers the baby narrative. I knew that was going to be a long one. That was going to be a long topic. So I hope that covers it. But if you have any questions, by all means, I'll tell you when you can do some follow-up when I open the floor, if you will. Can you explain what afterlife feels like? No, I've not died. Shireen. And I don't say that sarcastically at all. It's certainly not this. It's certainly not this. And I can't imagine what it feels like because souls have come to me looking differently. And souls have come to me, souls that have died as adults have come to me as children. Souls that have died at 80 to 90 have come to me looking at the usual age is about 30, 33 years old. So it's the glorified body, like the transfiguration of Christ. Okay, it's the glorified body. Okay, so if you don't like the one that you have now, hang on. All right. But I don't. It's what it feels like, and it's not like this. I don't know. There's also the school of thought that if you're attached to stuff in this world, you still feel the feelings, the draws of this world outside the body. You still have the emotions. You don't feel pain, pinching, okay? But you have your consciousness, your emotions still. All right? So that's the best I can describe as what it would feel like. People have relayed, from NDEs, out-of-body experiences, people have relayed feelings of pure peace and joy. But the only time anybody in my studies have ever revealed anything feeling physical after death was rather dark. Okay. Sherry, you want a smoking hot body, huh? Okay, well, if you get one and I get one, we'll hook up, all right, hon? All right. Let's see. How does one get stuck in limbo? I'm not... Crystal. How does one get stuck in limbo? Does the soul want to hang around? I mean, is the soul accepting of what happens? There are other questions that actually will answer this question, so let's move on. Is there a waiting period before the reincarnation for spirit? Circumstantial. What if they want to be an angel and not return as human or animal? A human soul is a human soul. A dolphin's soul is a dolphin's soul. An angel is an angel. So when somebody says, as sentimental as it is, oh, she's my angel now, she passed, he's my angel in heaven, he's an angel now. I'm sorry, but he's not. He's a different soul group. We're humans. We're not angels. We're humans. Okay? The spirit can be with you and watching over you, but you're technically incorrect to say the angel is watching over you. Okay? There are different soul groups. And just look at the days of creation. Look at the Genesis account. Okay? I refer to the Bible a lot, especially Genesis. Is there a waiting period before reincarnation? If you reincarnate, I have strong evidence to believe that reincarnation exists. It's logical. We don't die. There's a great story. I think you can YouTube it. It was a documentary. I think it's called The Boy Who Lived Before. And it's in Scotland. And this boy, for the first 6 years of his life, remembered everything about his previous life. And everything was verified. He took his mother to, his old mother's house. This is my mom, too, met the woman. And he knew all about the family. He just remembers dying, being in a tunnel, a black tunnel, and coming right through another white tunnel. So it was like an immediate reincarnation. All right? So again, circumstantial. From the evidence I've seen, from what I've studied, you can reincarnate right away. You can hang around. You can linger around people that you love. So it really depends. Okay. Do you believe we are reincarnated a certain amount of time, or is there a limit? Depends on your circumstantial. Depends on your school of thought. Evangelical Christians, born again Christians believe no. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. It's a one-shot deal. You're born, die, go to heaven. That's it, or hell. That just seems so uncomplicated to me. It could be, but what I've seen, and here's the catch-22. They got you coming and going, evangelicals, because they're like, well, those are demons that are showing you that stuff. Whatever. Satan can't cast out Satan. If a spirit is telling me accurate information and to love another person or in line with Scripture, evangelicals, okay, Satan can't cast out Satan. Think about that. You're just like the Pharisees, accusing me of casting out demons by serving demons, although I do serve Satan. But anyway, long story. Anyway, Patty, what happens to our soul when we die? Do we ever wander the earth after death? What happens when a pet dies? Okay, so we answer the pet question. Do you ever wander the earth after death? Again, sometimes. And for different reasons, because you don't want to move on. In cases of waking up dead that we've discussed in past videos, where you overdose on heroin and you like, holy shit, like you woke, you next thing you know, you're looking at your dead body. You're looking at your own dead body in spirit over your body. The trauma, you don't know what to do, you don't know how to move on. You have no theology, you don't know enough to call out to your God, goddess, etc. You don't know if you're a Christian, you don't know how to call to Christ. So what happens to our soul when we die? It really depends. What kind of life did you live? What are the circumstances of your death? What are the circumstances of the death? When I read people, I ask for a cause of death. Cremation is fine. Good question. Is it okay to cremate your body, or should I just really quick? I'm not going to take any more questions yet. I'm going to wait till that. But this one just popped right out. Is it okay to cremate? Yes, absolutely. The sea and the earth and the judgment will give up its dead. And remember that God formed Adam from the dust of the earth. So if he can form Adam, he can put you back together. That's if you believe in a resurrection body instead of reincarnation. So you see, it's a different schools of thought. The takeaway from this whole video is there is no death. There is an afterlife. That is the only thing I will say with authority in this whole thing, is that we do not die. Your babies do not die. Your animals do not die. We do not die. Your loved ones do not die. Okay? That's the takeaway from this whole thing. And the one thing I will say with absolute, utter authority for this. Can the deceased communicate with us? Oh, yeah. Just all the time. All the time. Gene, do you choose to remain with a living loved one after death? You can, I believe, in some cases, but in some cases you don't. Now remember, I've read people too that have come to me and it's like they're escorted. You know, like souls that have died under darker circumstances anyhow are somehow escorted, like by guardians or angels or darker figures. It's almost it's akin to visiting a prisoner or visiting a patient in a psych ward. You know, and you wait in the waiting room, and the angels bring the soul to you, or the guardians, whoever the soul, wherever the soul is, whether it's angels or demons, whatever is around the soul, is bringing the soul out to meet you in the visiting room. You know, this is the symbolism I see, because I can't go entirely necessarily sometimes into that realm. Nobody can go entirely into it without physically dying. Is there any way to help those who have committed suicide to achieve a different realm of peace? When I was a Christian, the best thing I can give you is just a story. I was a Christian, and somebody I knew had passed, and I knew they were in a bad place. I said a chaplet of divine mercy for them. You can Google this chaplet of divine mercy, Saint Faustina, the novena, the Divine Mercy Novena. It starts on Good Friday, ends on Divine Mercy Sunday, which is the Sunday after Easter. And I got an unequivocal sign that whatever I had said, that this novena for the repose of the soul of this person worked. I got an unequivocal sign that this person heard. I can't get into much detail on this one, sorry. So, can you help those who have committed suicide? Sure, I believe, yes, you can. From my experience, yes, you can. In a lot of circumstances. But again, in a lot of circumstances, they're shown mercy. They go through their own kind of purgatory or whatever, you know. When I read people, I ask for a cause of death. Now, let me tell you about one reading I did, and then I'm going to start taking your questions. I didn't know who I was reading. The woman wouldn't, and I don't want to know. When I read people, I want to know very little. So the woman says I just knew she wanted to speak to somebody, and I said, blue. Well, I said, was this person in the? And I really should just share what I've been doing lately too, is sharing the visions instead of interpreting them and saying and assuming I know what I'm seeing. Because I said, is this person in the Navy or the Air Force? And he said, why? And I'm like, because I see a blue uniform on this person. And it was a woman. I said a blue uniform in this woman. Was she a police lady? Or was she in the Air Force? Was she in the Navy? What am I saying? She's like, no, but go on. And so I asked the spirit, what was your cause of death? Now, when you ask a soul the cause of death, you'll usually get a medical term. So when people, if I'm saying if somebody tells me the cause of death was respiratory collapse, I'm saying, oh, they died by respiratory collapse, and the person says, no, they had cancer. It's like, well, yes, but the cancer caused a respiratory collapse. That was the official cause of death. See what I mean? So I read this woman and I asked her, what was your cause of death? And she showed me this big steel beam impaling her through the midsection. And I have to be careful when I tell somebody something like that. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is how this person died. Does it make sense? This person seems like a violent death. It would appear to be some kind of accident. She was impaled somehow. She was a flight attendant aboard American Airlines on September 11th. So I didn't see a plane fly into a building and say, oh, she died on September 11th. She showed me her cause of death. She was impaled by steel. So that's how, for all you conspiracy theorists out there that say 9/11 was a government, or whether it was or wasn't, I can tell you real people died that day. Real people were on those planes. Those were not empty planes that flew into the building. Okay, I know from experience now because I talked to somebody who was on one of them. In spirit, and saw her cause of death, and then cause of death was confirmed. All right. Your questions. Taking them now. Now remember to like and share this video if you're getting something out of it. So remember to like and share the video. And if you're getting something out of it, my donation links are down below. All right. So questions. I'm taking them now. I'm going to just watch and see how some of them come up. Anything I've missed that you want to discuss, I open the floor. Like I said, I mean, similar to my readings, I got to tell you, I'm usually pretty thorough. I'm not, Sherry, I'm not doing individual readings like for, I'm more broad, like afterlife. Do you see what I mean? Just topics on the afterlife, questions that people have on the afterlife, etc. And you'll notice in my astrological forecast, to the baby soul who passed away after been born, stay with the mother or move on. They're kind of both. They're always these are the souls that I have seen. They come to me from the bosom of God, for lack of a better description, the bosom of God. They're in such a place of peace. And this old, you notice the Christian church backtracked on this, and because they were like, oh, it has to be baptized. Oh, you got to get that baby baptized immediately, or it's not going to go to heaven. What a crock of shit. What's more innocent than a child? Okay, so it's a child that is born that passes can stay with the mother, or it can go into the arms of the Creator. That's another reason too. It's like if people are in the presence of their Creator and they're looking at what's called the beatific vision in the Catholic Church, they're looking at the face of God. They're not looking back. You want to look back at this world when you're beholding your Creator. So can the baby stay with the mother? under some circumstances, yeah. But if it was just a thing, like just like it was a natural cycle of life that the infant just passed, it's probably in heaven, or what we would conceive to be heaven, okay, or moving on to a different incarnation. Um, you know, SID, sudden infant death syndrome, where a child after like what 2 or 7 months just dies. Um, that can be because I'm not accusing. I'm just saying it could be for many reasons. It can be lack of love. It can be events. Remember, free will. Events around the infant, around the soul going sour, and it's new enough in that body to choose to exit. Okay? So there's always a reason. Once that trinity is formed, there's a reason for that trinity to leave. There's a reason for that soul to leave. Okay? Let's see, baby. Okay. I can't remember. How will I know? How do I know as my loved one is... Barbara, how will I know that my loved one is around me? Sometimes they'll give you signs. I was just saying, get it and speak to me and see if we can find them. But a lot of you, a very common thing that the dead do is drop dimes. People say, I see dimes everywhere. They drop, like, literally dimes, not pennies, dimes, for some reason, dimes. Your loved one is around. Loved ones will also give you signs. You know, interesting story about and just really quick too, again, and I was, about my mother's passing. My mother died of breast cancer in 1997. She suffered for 6 long months. And the first time I actually wanted her to die was when I saw her in a coma. She went into a coma for 3 days before she actually passed away. It was the worst possible case of breast cancer you could get. She caught it immediately. It just, you know, from the first, and they took everything out, and it just metastasized. It was crazy. She was riddled with, her body was riddled with cancer by the time she passed, and she was in a coma for 3 days. And the first day I saw her in a coma, I was like, why? And I remember to God, I'm like, why don't you just take her? And by her head, on the pillow in the hospital bed, there was a newspaper, Boston Herald. And there was a basketball player for the Boston Red Sox that had her same last name, Carey. Carey. It was a Boston Red Sox player. So next to her head is the sports page. And it says, Carey won't back down, was the sports headline, meaning he was a fighter. Carey won't back down. And then at the bottom, it was an advertisement for Alpha and Omega watches. Time, Alpha Omega. So it was a letter from God, from Christ. He knew what I was going to ask. I was going to say, why don't you just take her? Carey won't back down. Since, dear Eric, your mother's fighting us, we're trying to take her. She's clinging on to dear life. Sincerely yours, Jesus Christ, the Alpha and the Omega. Okay, so you can push, you can fight it, and after having learned that, good evening, Holly. Good evening, Nicole. Victoria's lungs are able to wear 2 days old. Things. Good. I'm glad that helped. Then my grandmother had lung cancer out of nowhere. Never smoked a day in her life. Lung cancer. We just celebrated her 80th birthday, and she collapsed one day. And they rushed her to the hospital, and she had very advanced lung cancer. And they just started. This was after my mother died, so she watched her own daughter die, and then 2000, and then a couple of years later, she all of a sudden has breast cancer. I'm sorry, lung cancer. And I went up there. I went to my then aunt's house. And I was alone with my grandmother at the table, and she was in a wig. She had the oxygen mask and a nebulizer and all this stuff, and they just started treatment. And she said, I'm gonna be, and it's just me and her, and we're sitting at the kitchen table in my then aunt's house in Wilmington, Massachusetts. And she said, I'm gonna beat this. I'm gonna show people. I'm gonna show everybody. I'm gonna beat this. And I said, beat what? I'm like, do you want to go through, what do you have to prove to who? You've lived 80 wonderful, 80 long years. We just had your 80th birthday party. You lived 80 years. Do you want to suffer? Do you want to go through what your daughter, my mother, just went through? Is that what the fight you want to take on at 80 years old? She died that night. That night, she hemorrhaged and died. But you know what? She was spared a lot of suffering. So, I don't know if, there was a degree of, like, permission there, like it's okay to go, which is interesting, too, because my mother, for 3 days in a row before she was in a 3-day coma, people that stayed with her said that she woke up, she was talking in her sleep, and she was saying, so I can go now? They'll be okay? It's okay to go? And then she would jump up, and whoever was staying with her, the family member, they would rotate staying with her. She would say, where is everybody? And they would think my mother was delirious. Of course, she's just seeing the other side. At that time, she had a foot deeper in the other world than this one. And they're like, there's nobody here, Joanne. She's like, no, they were all just here. Where is everybody? She did like 2 or 3 nights in a row. It's okay to go. They'll be okay. You'll take care of them, kind of thing. So there's many reasons people hang on and cling to life. When people say, this person is suffering so much, they're suffering so much, it's because sometimes people are afraid to die. They don't know what's waiting for them on the other side. I don't know what's waiting for me on the other side. Given some things I've done in my life and some decisions I've made, I definitely know there'll be a talking to. That's for sure. But as to what exactly I'm in for, I don't know. I don't know. Remember that in ancient Egyptian belief, Anubis, the god of the underworld, one of the gods of the underworld that escorts the soul to the underworld and represents Libra in the astrological scales, weighs in the balance, the heart on one scale and a feather for truth on the other. Ultimately, in the end, I guess we could say another takeaway. What's another takeaway from this video? Another takeaway is that it is my experience that every death in passing is circumstantial, and in the end, the heart is weighed in the balance. So this whole idea that you need, that if you can just magically say, Jesus, I accept you, and you're that's it, that you can act however you want, and you da-da-da-da. My information, I'm sorry, does not back that up. What I've seen, my information does not back that up. Everything seems, death is incredibly circumstantial, it seems. There are many different, let me see, hauntings. Well, sure. If they were a bitch in life, they can be a bitch in death. Absolutely. If their soul can stick around, if they're a really malevolent, violent person, if they were a murderer, if they were a rapist, or just malevolent indeed, absolutely, they can stay around and haunt you and torment you. Sure, you can protect yourself from it magically and with prayer, but yeah, can oh yeah, sure. Hauntings of houses. People that have died in the house have a sentimental attachment to the house. Not all hauntings are evil. Some are friendly. They could have a sentimental attachment to the house. They don't want to leave. The soul doesn't want to go on. The soul could not want you in their house. Um, so and also traumatic incidents with somebody murdered in the house. Doesn't necessarily mean the house is haunted because somebody was murdered in the house. Negative energy can imprint itself there. Okay, and the soul can kind of stay there and get stuck there. But a lot of they just they'll move on, or the person will be hanging around a family member, etc. Just because somebody's murdered in a certain room doesn't mean the room is haunted all the time. Okay? Do you need to do a full confession so you can get to heaven when you die? My experience is that you do have to look into a very, very difficult mirror. Let's put it that way. And the best thing you can do is choose to look in that mirror in life and not in death. Okay, I don't know why my camera's blurring on me. I'm trying to keep it steady. The best thing you can do is try to look in that mirror and do that, what's called in the 12-step programs, that searching fearless moral inventory of yourself. Okay, because believe it or not, our worst demons, the worst, the most difficult thing we can do is actually see ourselves for what we really are sometimes. Yeah, we have a good heart, and yeah, we do good things, but we can also be real. I can be a real prick. I've had that mirror shown to me even recently, and it's. I do think not as much as confessing sin as coming to terms with a dark aspect of yourself and changing that behavior. Margot, I'm not doing readings. I'm just talking about the afterlife. More questions? Anybody questions? Let me scroll back. Oh, you can type them now too. I'm just going to scroll back and see if I missed anything. Can people haunt other people when they pass this life? Yeah, I just said that. Yep. But that was a question from before. Sherry, yes, they can. Like I said, if they were a prick in life, they can be a prick in death. That goes back to yes, cremating your body is fine. Let's see if we have anything else. So, any other questions on the afterlife? I'm just going to wait here and see. In the meantime, again, website ericfraize.com. Donation links. If you've got something, wonderful, or if you found some peace from this video, by all means, you don't have to, but by all means, any amount is accepted. Do you believe spirit leaves signs? Oh, absolutely, all the time, all the time. There's so many examples. I wouldn't know where to begin. Will I be with the people I miss the most in the afterlife? Will I be with the people I miss the most in the afterlife? My experience says yes, you will be. Just want to know if I have to come back. Sherry, I actually struggle with that myself because I don't want to come back. Because this world is getting worse and worse and worse. How I've come to terms with it, Cherry, is I'm going to cross over. And when you leave your body, it may all be clear to you. Like, oh, because you're out of your body, you have access to more knowledge and wisdom. You have access to a higher consciousness. Etc. You may know like why you were even incarnated. Okay, that's next. What's next? We don't know. But I've struggled with that myself, and I've said, I swear, when I get to the other side, I'm going to beg and plead that, like, please don't let me go back. Like, So so do you have to come back? I'm there with you. I cannot say anything definitively other than I hope that once I get to the other side, it's a two-way discussion and not a one-way discussion, because my argument is going to be, I don't want to go back. Crickets and pennies you see the most. That's the way they communicate with you. When a person is sick and they pass, are they better in the afterlife? Robin, good question. Rewatch this video where I talk about my mother who died of breast cancer and the progression of her soul as she came to me in different dreams. Okay? The immediate physical pain is relieved, yes. The person is no longer in physical pain. So I think in the case of my mother, it more had to do with spiritual torment than, not torment, like she wasn't being tormented. Her own demons, quote unquote, symbolic, were her own stuff that she did in life. But the physical pain disappears when a person is sick and they pass away. They're better in the afterlife. Yeah, you cannot be in heaven and have cancer. And I'm not being wise at all. Being just very matter of fact. You can't, that's not how it works. What if our loved one has already moved on to a new family? Therefore, when we get to the other side, they wouldn't be there. In the theory of reincarnation, no, they wouldn't be. But now there's also the theory of the 14 pieces of the soul, that a soul can be in 14 bodies at once. And that goes back to Egyptian mythology when Set cut up Osiris into 14 pieces and Isis had to reassemble him. So can a soul be in different bodies? Can you reincarnate multiple times? The theory on can you be separated? Can you be in different bodies? There's a theory that says you can be. I don't know for sure. I don't know for sure. I live in a neighborhood where there were multiple people murdered by the same person, and it seems to be a lot of bad luck even 25 to 30 years later. Is that possible? This energy, absolutely, the energy remains, Barbara. Absolutely. That's the same condition. That's the same as a haunted house. Like if somebody was murdered in a house, look at Salem. Salem is one of the most haunted cities, especially because of the Salem witch trials, Salem, Massachusetts, the Salem witch trials. And even though 19 people were hanged, one man pressed to death, about 150 died in jail. There was still that hysteria, that trauma. So there's all kinds of, and just in general too, there's a such thing as bloodline curses on families, and you curse family members. You have curses put on people. All this stuff. Butterflies, actually, yes, that's another one with dimes too. Butterflies, Margot, yes. That's a very common sign of those who have passed on. And it doesn't mean they're the butterfly. It just means they're sending a butterfly your way, kind of, to show you, like, hey, I'm with you. I hear you. I feel you. Let's see. So if there are any other questions, now is the time. So speaking of afterlife and the dead, we're approaching Hallowmas. Okay, so the veil is thinning between the living and the dead, and it gets at its thinnest at Hallowmas. Okay, October 30th, 31st, November 1st, November 2nd. All right, so now is the time. Now is the time to get readings. Okay, to speak to those. It's just easier. There's easier access to the other side. So what is your take on soulmates? Is it true that your soul will... Good question. What is your take on soulmates? Is it true that your soul will find that person when they are reincarnated again? Okay. We'll do this, Robin. We have many soul mates. There's such thing as group karma. Your family actually reincarnates. Your mother today could have been your son in a past life, could have been your father in a life before that, etc. Group karma, family karma. And they can be your lover too. You can be in love with them as well. And they can still reincarnate. They can still go with you. There are many soul mates. There's the idea of the twin flame. I do not know if this is true or not. I can only tell you what I haven't seen, the idea that there's another half of yourself out there. One of the things about soulmates, and thank the gods we have many soulmates, is because when I tell people, oh, they were your soul, if I tell people they were your soulmate, and you like broke up with them years ago and you're never going to get back together with them again, you're like, fuck, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? You know what I mean? So I would never, the universe is not so poorly designed. People find love again. Every love is new. But a lot of times that we meet people and get in relationships with people, it is karmic. It can be from past lives. It can be chemistry, astrological chemistry, very real magnetic vibrations that really just attract you to somebody because of your astrology. You can be like, I swear we've known each other in past lives. And you didn't. It's just that the magnetic attraction because of the planets is that powerful that you like all over them. Interesting statistic. Scorpios are the most stalked sign of the zodiac as far as love and romance goes. And they are also the sign to most likely stalk you, Scorpios. Every sign has a quirk, and that quirk has an inversion. And that just so happens to be one with Scorpios. Do our deceased relatives come to us in dreams? Yep, we discussed that earlier. Yes, they do. They certainly do. Other people's deceased relatives come to me in dreams for me to tell them. All right, so guys, like and share this, please. Comment on it, react to it, comment, share it. I'm exhausted right now. My brain is like that was pretty. I must, I was getting juice from spirit there. So thank you for watching. I'd love to see your comments. I'm gonna go rewatch the video and look at the comments too and go through them, etc. now. So by all means, comment, ask questions, like, message me, etc. If you missed it, sorry, rewatch it, share it. That's a great thing about it. Website ericfraize.com. Donation links below, please, guys, because it'll motivate me to do more. You know what I mean? It'll make it worth it to me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's rewarding and stuff, but it's also I gotta friggin' eat. Okay, all right. So oh no problem. Just go watch the rerun. I love you all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. And I will talk to you soon. Well, keep an eye on my Facebook page. We'll let you know when the next Facebook video live is. My astrological forecast for the week is up. Take a look at that. Hurricane Dorian, we were right about that. It re-strengthened back up to a Category 1 in Canada. So, Canada, Connecticut. Anyway, all right. I'm pushing it, stretching it. I love you all. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.